There's an old idea that parts we refuse to see in ourselves don't just disappear, they still influence us. Carl Jung called these hidden parts our shadow. And the strange thing is, you can encounter your shadow in the people that trigger you the most, the person you can stand, the person you secretly envy, the person that makes you irrationally angry. But what if this reaction isn't about them? What if they are showing you a part in yourself that you refuse to see? When we were younger, back then in the past, in the childhood, we created an identity of how we should be and who we should never be. And this created a split in ourselves, right? Therefore, we learned one thing is good, the other is bad. For example, be a good person, be never a bad person. Or be disciplined, be never lazy, always function. But the thing is that people have all these different aspects, okay, in ourselves. And this is what creates this conflict. Now, let me give you an example so that you really understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so for me, before I was starting this YouTube channel, I was very often fucked up by people who sell themselves and show themselves, right? I was triggered by them very strong. But then I realized something. I realized, okay, it's actually not about them. Something in me resists that, right? I feel resistance because there is something in me that I still haven't accepted yet. And this stopped me from having further success in my business. Okay? And what I want to tell you in this video is how to learn to accept it and to integrate that. And step one is basically just becoming aware of this trigger. What is a trigger? A trigger is not necessarily that you just dislike something. It's an emotional charge reaction. So it's not that you just don't resonate with something. It feels emotionally charged. Very often makes us angry or upset. Something that we don't want to see at all, right? Something like that. Like in my example where I was triggered by the people who are selling, making marketing, that really activate a strong reaction in me, right? Strong negative reaction. This is a trigger. So think of something that triggered you recently and name it, right? How did this emotion exactly feel and where was it in your body? Okay. And the second step is now that we allow this emotion first to be. Okay. So give it this emotion space that it can be as it is. That means you just observe it consciously. Even if reality, you actually still resist it, it's still there, you observe that consciously as well. So this is what it means. It doesn't mean you have now to pretend like you love all of that. It's not about that. Accepting a trigger doesn't mean that when we look at a person that triggers us, that we now say, oh, this person is so amazing. What they do is amazing. So when I was looking at these people who were making sales and marketing, some of them were pushy, and it was true. So they were overdoing it sometimes. So for me, the good aspect of that was not to idealize them. It was not about saying, yeah, they are amazing in everything they do. It's not about that, okay? It's first of all just recognizing the resistance and allowing it to be the sitter in the body. And then the third step comes. And this is about now trying to understand it. We first realize the trigger, we become aware, then we accept and we try to understand it. This emotion, this part in ourselves. What we see in other people very often is actually not these people. It's this part in ourselves that's full of resistance. So now I was looking at these people back then. I was not seeing them. I was seeing myself. Okay, this emotion in me that was triggered. I projected it into them. That's what Carl Jung mean, right? The shadow will always haunt you until you resolve that. So how did I resolve that then? How did I understand it? So what I did is I was looking at it and I asked myself questions like, okay, what is this emotion trying to protect me from? Okay, what does it actually want? What is its message? Where is it maybe even reasonable what it tries to say me? A reasonable part could be, okay, they were really pushy. Okay, they were overdoing it. And this is not how I want to be, right? But then after that, after I looked at the bad side and why it's reasonable, which I actually knew already, now comes the bit more uncomfortable part. I looked also at the good side. I tried to look like, okay, who could, I know it sounds unimaginable when one is triggered, but I just tried to ask myself, okay, how could this be somehow something good? And I realized there was something good. These business people, they were showing themselves. So they were going out there, making themselves visible, like me in my YouTube channel, and they were making an offer. So they were standing for something. And this is what I resisted in myself, that I go out there and show myself of that. Okay? And this is what made me difficult then to have success in my business because I was resisting it myself. Right? By me then slowly trying to understand this part. What does it try to protect me? How is it reasonable what it wants? And what is the positive aspect maybe that it has? It's not about idealizing entire personality. It's just being about precise that there's something good about it. Like for people who don't give a fuck. Some people say these people are assholes. Maybe they are. But the good aspect could be they care less about what people think about them, especially if it's really irrelevant. They don't care. So they just do what the fuck they want. Okay? So it's like finding something positive in this negative. Okay? As something that you perceive as negative. It's not always objectively negative. And then to understand that after following the first two steps is what helped me to come closer now to this aspect and to integrate it in myself, right? And then you just take a step of action. You just take action, one small, even very small step, okay, of being more like that. Once you feel like there is something positive, you take a step once you have understand it a bit better. And now, like in my case, I was showing myself then more. I was standing more for what I do, right? If you also struggle to show yourself to stand for what you do in your business, you can click on the link below and there you can join a discovery call where I help people who start a business to make their first clients, to make their first money. Okay? And comment also below. What was the most helpful lesson from this video? What helped you the most? And what do you want maybe to see in the future? Okay? And see you next time. Bye bye.